Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who are coming in and sharing their expertise so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schock, and if you're new to the podcast, welcome. I'm excited that you're here, and please stay to the end because we have a special gift for you that we're going to give you just for being here with us today. But without further ado, I want to introduce my guest. She is an awesome woman. Her and I have been chatting a little bit behind the scenes. I'm excited to dive in today and talk with her about the company Senders. And her name is Aurora Alvarado. So welcome, Aurora, to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. And for everybody who's listening, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yes,
Hopefully,
absolutely. And I'm excited to chat with
useful.
you. So,
Yeah.
Aurora, can you tell us a little bit about you, about Senders and your role within it? Because you have a very special role, unique role. And I haven't talked with anybody on this podcast in your role yet. So I'm really excited about this conversation.
Yeah, of course. So I work at Senders, and my role in Senders is, well, I do a couple of roles, like, many people do in startup companies. And what I do is that I work as an executive helping the CEO. I work in operations specifically, and then some people could say as a COS as well. So it's a lot of different areas of the company that I'm checking with the CEO, and then myself, of course, of, hiring and doing all that kind of stuff. As for the company and Senders, what we do is that we specialize in deliverability and scalability of cold email, and also people that want to grow. If you're a B2B company, if you're looking to grow different, countries, then that's kind of what we focus on. And then people that have issues with their deliverability, cold email not getting into inboxes and, kind of thing. And we just introduced recently triggered outbound, which is just something that I will talk later in the conversation, so I don't make this too long.
No, the more you share with me, the more I can so this is fantastic. So you juggle a lot of hats. So let's start there because there's a lot of founders and that listen to this podcast and they're in different stages of growth. So you work directly with the CEO, which is fantastic. So you support them. You're also in operations. So can you tell us a little bit more of what your roles entail about what you do on the day to day?
Yes, so on a day-to-day, I would say always a lot of emails. Still, I use a lot of AI, including, even if I'm checking sheets to see numbers and things like that. I use a lot of AI for that as well. But if I had to make it into short, that's it. It's emails, trying to figure out stuff, talking with some people that I work with to figure out, what's happening. And then on the other side is a lot of sheets and things like that. And then also platforms, CRMs, things, updating information and then just gathering things together. And then on a weekly basis, it gets more interesting because there's where I gather data from the week to make sure that things are running, that it makes sense. So yeah, but in essence, I think like most of us, it's a lot of email. Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of analytics, it sounds like.
Yes. And
Yeah,
yeah,
a
that is
lot of numbers. And we got to know our numbers when we're running a business, which is really important. So, and I think a lot of businesses forget that when they're starting. They're focused on, they know the one number, but they don't know all the stats that go along with it, like how many people are opening emails. And so we're going to get into that. Like when you're sending emails out, campaigns, how many people are opening? Are you sending to your unopens? And so talk to me about what your company does specifically and how because you're in marketing, we're in marketing, so I would love to see your take on it and what y'all do. What are you seeing in your space, and how does your company help, like how does what you all do help another business grow?
Yeah, well, what we do specifically, we help them grow in the sense of, let's say, for example, I do shares, and that's my business. And I don't know where to start. I don't know how. It's too many noises here, there, LinkedIn, and this, and TikTok, and all this stuff. We do work for B2B, but for example, a person like that can come to us, and we can help them set up a good copy. We help them with the strategy person that will sit with them, figure it out. And we help them with the database so they will know who should I reach out. Maybe it's designers. They will like to use my shares, right? It's the new product, is something out there. But sometimes some people are like so excited about their product because you're like, I love everything I do, but I don't know how to express it on an email, or I don't know how to express it on a message to a person because, it's too much noise, there's too many things out there. And I'm also like too excited to even write it clearly, simple, and it gets to the point. So, those are like small things that we do for a client to help them and during that process while they're trying to figure out how to grow their company. So that's one part. And then also there's people that already have done this for a long time and they're just like, okay, I've tried everything. We're trying to grow or we're trying to reach an audience. I don't know what else to do. Like we need help with growth. That's something else that we can help with. And the same thing maybe is that your email, sometimes we get emails and they're very secure about it. And they're like, we're sure this is getting to some people. And then it's like, no, read the copy. It's not, it's not pungent. It's not like getting to what you want the people to get, or the audience is the wrong audience. Now we've transformed, things are changing. People that used to be interested in a certain thing now is interested in something else. So it is evolving and changing. So it's not always the same data list that they should be using. So, but yeah, it's mostly growth, setting up all that infrastructure for them to send that perfect email, get the interest, get the lead, get it closed.
Yeah, I love that you brought up one thing that I heard a lot right there, but one thing that really stuck out to me is that the problem that you solve, the messaging that you're putting out there changes all the time. And you really need to know and understand your ideal client and who your target market is, because just because a message worked last month doesn't mean it's going to work now. Just because there's a problem that you're solving now today doesn't mean it's the same problem that your audience has in a month from now. And it's our job as businesses to be aware of that. But we're juggling a lot of stuff, right? We got a lot of things that we're trying to handle as we're growing. So having a company like you doing it for us, saying, hey, this is not the messaging that's working. It might have worked last month, it might have worked last quarter, but now your audience is concerned about this. So we need to pivot our messaging to lean into that specific problem. So
That
that
is
it is punchy, it is grabbing their attention, it's stopping the scroll. So yeah, so good. So can you tell us, like, what does it look like to, so if we were to say, hey, we want to work with senders or we want to learn more about it, what would the process look like to get started with you all?
So how the process is, and as I said, it's not just a copy, it's a lot of things that, steps. But initially what we do is like a discovery call. Also, if there's anybody who's listening right now and is interested just to connecting with us so we can like help you out. We're also a company that like to do that because we know there's a lot of startup companies that have issues and maybe it's something simple that they could solve by themselves and they don't need us, but we can help with that too. So yeah, just at the end, just let us know as well, and we can help you with that. But what we do in the steps is we do the onboarding after, we close the call. After that step, they will connect with the strategy person that will help them step by step. And then we will see what's the data that, or the people that they're sending the messages to, the frequency that they should be sent based on what the results or what they want to get. That is very important. And then, of course, the copy that also is very important. And then make sure that it goes gradually so they can, send more emails and not just in a very healthy way and not just a small block, because that's also the issue. Some people get excited. It's like, yeah, let's send 2,000 today. It's like, no, you need a warm-up period to be able to scale and gradually send more emails. But of course, the more people you reach out, the more attention you're getting. And of course, that's what's going to help with growth. So yeah.
Absolutely. And getting into spam is a problem because we do lead gen also. And we have a 3 week, 2 to 3 week warm up period for our clients. We're like, we need 2 to 3 weeks to set up because there's a warm up period for your emails. Like you need the system to understand, the email boxes to understand that this is being generated. So you don't go directly to spam or you're not just shut down entirely. Right.
Exactly.
So can you give any tips to business owners out there for staying out of spam? Because especially in the last few weeks, we've heard from other companies, like we're in a very big networking community, so we're always talking to other businesses and they're finding some issues. We've been blessed where we haven't found those, but there's companies that are having issues with Outlook now. Gmail's been a problem, right?
Yeah.
But now Outlook is now starting to become the same, where they're starting to shut down or move people into spam a little more than they were before. So do you have any advice on how to stay out of, how do I call it, spam jail or something?
Yeah, out of trouble. Well, there's the simple math or the simple way of doing it, which is always like make sure that the subject line doesn't have anything spammy. Make sure that in the body of the message, there's nothing spammy. There's certain kind of links, not all the links, certain kind of links that could be thrown that message to spam. So there's little things like that. I wish our tech was here to help us with more because they know it like everything, like
Mhm.
every little detail of what could happen and why we'll throw it. But yes, simple little things like that, the people are like, yeah, I know. But then when you write and send a message, you're like, then why did you add that word? It could be one word. Then now. And yes, there's more filters for Gmail and for Outlook, there's more filters happening there. But again, depends on how you do the setup and how the sequences and everything is being sent out. Not necessarily you're gonna get in jail for that. But yeah,
Right.
if you send like everything, if I go ahead and be like, oh, I'm gonna send X amount through Gmail, yes, you're gonna get in trouble because
Yeah.
you do need that process.
Yeah. And no, this is why we have you on, because now if they want more information, we're going to tell them how to go talk to you to learn more about what those spammy subject lines and spammy messages are. Because I don't know, are you supposed to use emojis? I get emails in my inbox with emojis, but sometimes emojis can also possibly trigger spam. I don't know. And then there's a lot of times like today, I actually signed up for something that my client had. I need to know about their lead magnet. So I signed up for their lead magnet. The lead magnet end up in my spam. So we got to fix that,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
got to be fixed.
right.
We don't want the lead magnets. You don't want your lead magnets ending up in spam. So let's talk AI, Aurora. You brought it up a little bit ago, and I want to dive into it because it's something. It's a hot topic. I think it's going to be a hot topic for a while. I think we're going to be talking about it for a while.
Yeah,
It's evolved a lot. It was became on the scene in 2024, like like a hot tamale, and it's still running through, and it's evolving every, I would say, every day, if not every month. If not, like 6 months ago
mhm.
it looked completely different than it does now. ChatGPT is evolving, and there's I'm in love with Gamma right now. I'm having so much fun with that one. Yeah, I'm like it's my best friend. I love Gamma. So what is your, can you give some advice to companies on, because I have clients that they're still nervous about AI
Yeah,
and the posts, they don't want posts with certain things in it, which is great because they don't want it to look like AI. But
yeah.
it's like, should companies be leaning into AI? How do they do it with still making sure that they're keeping their authentic story, their authentic brand in the forefront, but also able to create systems and efficiency utilizing the AI tools that are out there?
Right. So there are a lot of AI tools out there that could be utilized very easily. Should you implement it as an operational person, not think about emails right now, but as an operational person, use AI? Yes, 100%. I would say implement it as soon as you can. If you need to pay somebody to do courses for your team to like know how to prompt thing, because what it is about AI is not so much like how to use it, because it's very simple. It's like, oh yeah, I'll use it. But some people use it like Google, like questions, and that's it, or fix, refine. But no, there's more to it, but you need to learn how to prompt it correctly.
Mm.
Basically, that's like the trick to using AI very, very well, is you learn how to prompt it very, very well. Now, when it gets to connecting, and this is more for emails, not so much for operations, but for emails, learning that AI still has errors. Understanding that very, very clear, because if we do sequences and you're introducing AI and you plug it in and you make it like, okay, I'll just do that with the flow. So if somebody responds, sometimes the responses sounds like, okay, they did not read my email correctly. And now I'm getting an AI response. Like you could tell. Like even if it sounds kind of human at the beginning, then it just transforms at the end because they didn't read your email. So those are little things that you have to be very careful. Also, if you're writing an email with AI, you have to be careful with little things that they make. For example, they add this little lines. That's like for sure that
Dead
it was, yeah.
giveaway. Dead giveaway.
Yeah,
It's
and
AI.
they do
Yeah.
it like on purpose.
The dashes, right? The
Yeah,
dashes.
they dash. They add the little dashes, they add the things. So just make sure like clean that up. Always like double check that it makes sense. And then again, if you do want to use a lot of AI, learn how to prompt it very, very well. But when it gets to responses, especially if you got a lead and you have to respond, if you're not getting like thousands of lead, I would recommend that the person will personally read the message and send, if it makes sense, and then send a message that, they will connect better. It's more likely that the person will close, it's more likely that the person reads the email with, more warmth, with like, okay, they understand where I'm coming from, and not just an automatic reply and where the person's like, oh, I was interested, but now after this, seems like they don't have their thing.
Yeah, AI can be a fun tool and very efficient to help you scale faster and grow faster and also take things off your plate. It's a great thing to have in your business. It's a must. It's not an option anymore, in my opinion. You need to bring AI in. If you haven't already, then you're already behind the eight ball. But at the same time, like you said, you have the better prompter you are and the better take time at the beginning to allow AI to learn you. The more that you can allow it to learn you and your voice and your branding and all of that, the more efficient it's going to be for you. And the less you're going to have to clean it up. You still got to clean it up, just like Aurora said. You want to go through it. You don't want to just trust it and copy and paste and put it out there. That could get you in trouble. And that could easily lose trust with your audience. So you want to make it your own, but it's definitely a tool that can help you become more efficient, support you in, I didn't, in other perspectives. Also, when you're wanting to create multiple pieces of content or emails, but make sure that you're double checking it on the back end. So let's talk operations, Aurora. You're in operations. You are the right-hand person of the CEO, and you're in the operations space. So, can we talk about hiring for those who are looking to grow? And they're like, okay, well, who do I hire first? Or what do I start thinking about as I'm growing on hiring? When should I be hiring? Is there a time? Do I need to have a certain revenue under my belt, or should I be thinking in a different way when it comes to hiring?
Right. So this is a very interesting question, and I love that part of operations of like figuring out when to hire, when to fire as well, because that's important. But I believe that if somebody is in a startup and there's something that you're like not 100% sure of how to do it, and you're trying to figure it out, or it's taking too much of your time, and that's not your specialty, and you can afford it, hire someone to do that. Again, with hiring, something that is important to know is that sometimes you don't need to hire four people for a very low pay. You can hire one person that could do three jobs and is more, has the capacity and everything that they will need to do a little bit more than what's required. Let's say you give them a better pay and they will do a better job than having three people or four people that they're just like, not
Yeah.
really there. Something else is always important, and I feel that it's not just about that somebody has a degree or that somebody has all the knowledge in the world because they've worked for 10 years. I feel like a lot they need to understand what you're doing in your company, because if they don't, it will never connect. They could be the
Mhm.
best person that worked for that company, but for my company is not working because they never understood what we were about, or they're not part of, what we believe or how we manage our things, like just in general, just as a person and what the company does is very important that the person connects that way too. So that is one way of always thinking of when hiring. Yes, hire the first person that you hire is always very important because it's very, you're nervous. Who am I hiring? I also had another company, which I closed, by the way, but my first hire was somebody to help me just do accounting because that was not my forte. And I was like, I need, it's like it's people are ordering stuff and doing this. And that was one of the first, and it helps a lot. So that was not my biggest thing I was more creative. I was more like, all that side was me. But when it got to numbers, I wasn't really good. Is it important always to check? Yes, is always important your input on everything, even if you're the head of, the company. But just that one person that you feel that is like your weak link is where I
Mhm.
feel like I'm not that great in numbers. Maybe that's the person you should hire. If you're not great in scheduling, if you're not great in organizing, if you're not great, then get some like personal assistant, and that would help. Why? Because it will lift off all that worries, all that time that you're spending on just doing that. But yeah, hiring the first person is that main point. What I'm not really good at, that I need help, that is going to take time out of my calendar.
Yeah, and that's time is your biggest resource. It's your biggest asset. Time is money. We can always make more money. We can never get time back. So even if you're wasting 2 hours a day or an hour a day doing something that you shouldn't be doing, that hour to 2 hours could be going into revenue generating activities or the activities that you're really good at. in order to keep the
Right.
business going. And I love that you brought that point up because that's different for everybody. So there's not a one size fits all, like, oh, this is your first hire. No, for Aurora, it was an accountant. Huge thing
Right.
for her,
Right.
right?
It's
For
always that
someone
because
else, but
otherwise it would have taken me like I would have to sit and
yeah,
yes, can I do it myself? Probably yes, but it will take me time to figure out this, how to put the number, make sure that and sometimes taxes is very important to be paid, all that stuff, and an accountant makes a huge, difference in that. In my case, it was a huge difference
right,
for
right.
that.
So for some of you, it could be, yes, you know what? She just woke you up and said, oh goodness, I need to hire an accountant like yesterday. So get on the ball, start researching, start, interviewing and bring in your accountant or your numbers person. For others, it could be a sales. Maybe you're just really bad at sales. You don't like doing that piece of it. Then don't sit on that because you need revenue. You need revenue to keep the
Yeah.
doors open. And
Yeah.
that should be the person that you're bringing in is somebody that's really good at sales. But you made a really another great point, Aurora, which is it's value oriented, mission oriented, like, understanding your brand, your story, what are your values? What is your mission? What are the core values that you have inside of your company? What do you stand for inside of your business? And making sure that when you're bringing people into the company, they're clear on what those core values are. They're aligned with what those core values are. They're aligned with your mission and they're on board and enrolled in it. Because if they're not on board and enrolled in it, you're going to have a really hard time and you are not in alignment and it just won't work. So I
Yeah,
love that you brought that up.
otherwise they're just there for the paycheck. You want a person that's not there just for a paycheck. Yeah,
Yeah.
you could be, I don't know, whatever title you have in sales, let's say, but you did great in sales. Yeah, that's great. But if you're just there for the paycheck, that's not the kind of people that you want in a startup company specifically, because you want somebody that is like, hey, if I need to do 2 extra hours to get this sale and to get another new client because we need them and I'm working, in a holistic way with a company, I will stay those extra 2 hours and I'm gonna help the company, grow and and so they're more involved.
Yeah.
That's why it's very important. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I'm glad you brought that up because it's super important. People need to be enrolled in your vision. So it's not just about what do you do and how good are you at doing it. You can have a person that's really great at marketing, great person that's great at sales, but if they're not aligned, then it's not going to work out in the long run. And that's what we want. And people, we want to, people do. I think there's a stat out there. There is a statistic out there, and I don't know what the number is, but more people are willing to stay because they feel like they're part of something big versus that paycheck. So people aren't money driven as they used to be. Yes, people want to make good money and we want to pay our people well. It's very important. But they're more likely to take a pay cut and go somewhere where they feel like they're part of something, they're part of a team,
Right.
than just staying in a job that's miserable because they're earning more money. So I think I just wanted to drive that home because that's a huge gold nugget that you dropped. So Aurora, let's talk about visibility. What are you all doing as far as like marketing goes? Like getting in front of you've talked a little bit about who your ideal client is, but who is your client for those people that are listening and going, wait a minute, I'm them, or maybe I'm not them. It's
Yeah.
good to know what side of the fence you're on. It's good to know
Right.
either way. So who is it? And how are you staying in front of them? It's a noisy world out there with social media and all the opportunities for marketing.
Right.
How are you staying relevant in front of them visibility wise?
Sure. So our main target audience, I would say, is B2B, as I mentioned. I would say industry doesn't matter if you're looking for growth, if you like to use deliverability or sending out cold email in a very healthy way and you need deliverability help. We do that. Also, as I mentioned at the beginning, now I'll bring it up. We also do triggered outbound, which is the new thing that is just take signals from what people are checking, and then we bring it up to you as it is a person that is interested in what you're doing. By a signal is, for example, if I do a post in LinkedIn and let's say 20 people checked it out, then maybe those 20 people are interested based on what is said on the post. But if it's something related to my company, then it's because maybe they're interested in what we do, right? So maybe we want to reach out, see if they need help or things like that. So it's also a, let's say, more kind of nuanced kind of thing that is like, oh, let's see who is checking different things that we have out there. Because the same thing with marketing. What we do and the certain things that we do is, yes, we do LinkedIn, we do cold email, we do have, which now a lot of people have, but we do have podcast. That is also another way to connect with people. which is now is getting a little more traction. At the beginning, not so much, but now, people are getting to know, okay, let's do podcasts to connect with people. That's a way to generate leads and also content to put out there. So then that gives us YouTube videos. So, we're everywhere except TikTok nor Instagram. We don't do those two yet, but maybe one day yet. But
Right.
also is because of since we do B2B, I feel like it's harder to give services in TikTok for B2B. It's more like I feel it's more B2C right now.
Yeah.
So we're still figuring that one out. But yeah, so but in essence, that's what we do specifically in marketing.
Yeah, it's really important you know where your people are. It's part of your market research that you need to be doing in your business. If your people are on LinkedIn, you don't need to be everywhere. And there's plenty of successful businesses, 7-figure, 8-figure businesses out there, 9-figure even, that are
Mm.
solely focused on one platform when it comes to social media, one or two. You don't need to be everywhere. Should you be? If your people are there, then yes, but not
Right.
at the beginning. At the beginning, focus on 1 or 2 platforms where you're very comfortable that you can manage, grow there, get successful, and then reinvest those funds into hiring someone that can scale you from there, because you as a business owner does not need to be doing that, like we were just speaking about earlier. Um,
Exactly. That's another good point. Add in a marketer that puts you in several things. Also is very important to think when marketing. Am I doing it for visibility or am I doing it for leads? Am
mhm,
I doing because when you think of ROI, is it giving me back right now or is it going to give me back in 3 months? For
right.
example, podcast is great. Yes, but the ROI you will see it very, it's harder to close people that way. So it takes
Mhm.
a little longer to get them, to
Yeah.
connect again. So yes, the different venues of marketing is always thinking of that too. Like, what is my purpose putting this out there? We also put out there Reddit. So little things in Reddit, which some people haven't done. I haven't seen too many. So that's another thing that somebody can try, but is to put word out there for what you do, get a discussion in there, see what people are talking, and then
Yeah.
a lead might come out of there, but it's not like 100% like, yeah, a lot of leads are going to come through there. No, but it gives visibility to the company. So that's
Yeah.
another way of, putting the little nuggets in different places for marketing.
Yeah, I love Reddit. I love reading it. We haven't promoted on there yet, but yeah, I agree with you. Reddit is underutilized, and I think it's gonna if you want to get in somewhere that hasn't been fully utilized yet, because LinkedIn was that a year or two ago, two
That
years
is
ago.
correct. Now it's a little saturated.
Now
Yeah.
it's a little yeah, and people are like, oh, you need to be on LinkedIn. And had I did more on there 2 years ago, it would have been a better time. Now it's definitely more saturated. There's a lot more noise out there. It's harder to be seen like you want to be, but it's still a great place for the B2B space. But I think Reddit is now what LinkedIn was. So
That
yeah, if you're looking to find a place where you
like
can stand
anyone.
out, whatever was said on Reddit, take that to heart and go
Yeah.
figure that out, because that's something we're doing too. Because it's definitely a place that's, I think, it's the next, it's up and it's coming. Another year or two, you're going to look back on this episode and go, why didn't I do it? And we're going to be like, oh,
Yeah.
I told you.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
because and even I would say like some people give some bad rep to cold email because they're like, "Oh, it's been there forever." But don't we all always check our emails? Every single day, I check my email. So, it's still there too. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. There's peaks in emailing. Sometimes it goes down, sometimes it go up, but people still respond. There's still like a lot of connections being done through there. People do read their emails, and especially their work emails. You're always in there. Like I'm always in there. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter
And
if I work with
don't
this
take it
or not, I'm
personally.
there.
I think people like, the good thing for us is our clients don't see, like we do the cold emails. So they don't see
Yeah,
what we're sending, which is great because they don't get the negative feedback. If there's negative feedback, there's going
right.
to be negative feedback.
Yeah,
It's going to happen. Just like your social media. If you're making a difference, if you are
yeah.
visible, you're going to get some negative feedback. You've got to be able to handle it. So if you don't want to handle that, then you hire a company like Aurora, like them, so they can handle it for you or support you in that, because cold email is never going away. It will always work depending on what the message is. If you're looking, I found, and I don't know if Aurora, you found the same thing, and I want to wrap this up because we're running out of time. But if you're looking for just get on a phone call with me, that's not working right now. Could it work in 2 years from now? Absolutely. It could come back around. We don't
Yeah.
know. but you've
We don't
got to
know.
keep trying and testing. And that's the way to grow a business in any situation, whether it's for your paid advertising, whether it's your organic growth, whether it's your social media content, whether it's making your offers, doing landing pages, whatever you're doing, you have to constantly test because the messaging will always change. What worked yesterday may not work today, but what worked yesterday may work 7 months from now. So you can't just say, oh, that didn't work and walk away. Before we wrap up, Aurora, can you tell people how to find you, how to connect with you, and also learn more about Senders?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find us at senders.co or .co.
Okay.
That's our website. Senders with an S. Senders. With
Plural, Senders.
within us. That is correct. And then you can email me if you have any questions about what we do, if we could help, if we can't help, or if you just want like a quick review of what you guys are doing and just give you a quick background and be like, yeah, what you're doing is great or not. Like, as I said, we're not just here to sell, we're also here to help other companies, other startup companies. If you're a woman founder, I would be super happy to have you because there are not so many. And you can email me at aurora@senders.com.
Perfect. And what's the podcast?
And the podcast, we have two. You can find it in YouTube in the Senders page. It's just Senders, and it's Growth Compass is one of them, the Growth Compass. And then the other one is for CROs. So it's more focused on sales. But they're both in this Senders page.
Perfect. And we're going to have all the links in the show notes. So make sure you go there and grab them and connect with Aurora because as you can see, she's amazing. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Please send Aurora a little note below and also hit that subscribe button because that lets us alert you when we have more amazing guests like Aurora on the show. Also, if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform like Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, any of the things, and you can leave a 5-star review. We would love 5 stars. Click on those 5 stars. That helps us share these episodes to more people. Again, I'm going to say it every single episode. The mission of this podcast is to help more businesses keep their doors open over 5 years versus closing. We want to flip the stat, go from over 90% closing in 5 years to over 90% staying open. And my guests are supporting me by being here and sharing with you in support of that mission. If you know of anybody that could use some email help by Senders or needs to know more, you're like, you know what, you could probably talk to Aurora, then please share this episode out with them. If you're looking to grow your visibility, you've been trying things. Aurora's shared a little bit about what they're doing, what they've been doing to help. Again, it's all testing. But if you want to learn some outside the box strategies that could help you be seen by more of your ideal client to grow your business and bring in more revenue, then go ahead and grab our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint and grab that there. Aurora, is there anything that you'd like to share before we wrap and I let you go that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't touch on?
I don't know. I hopefully brought some insight for some people, get some fears away from your mind and, get into hiring. I mean, Senders, we've been in business for 10 years, starting next year. So we've done something right for sure. And if nothing else, just please reach out, even if it's just to say hi or if you want to connect. I also like to do that. Talk with other, business owners. That's always fun as well. You always get to share different ideas. So
Yeah.
thank you for listening and thank you for having me here.
Thank you for being here, Aurora. And thank you all for listening to us today and being here with Aurora and I. Definitely go connect with her. Go check out Senders at sendersplural.co. Go grab all the links inside of there. Email marketing is not going away. It's here to stay. And it's a very effective tool and one that you must be using in your business. So make sure you connect with them. Thank you for listening to Aurora and I on the Business Growth Spotlight. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.